Hi and welcome. I'm Don Ridenauer. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Indiana, and this is Everyday Mental Health. This video is one of 3 parts that are condensed from an hour-long live stream I did last week with the parents of a boy who was at a school during a school shooting. And the first part goes through what happened from the time they first heard about the shooting until they were all safe back at home that evening. The second part talks about how they helped themselves and their son and the grandchildren that also witnessed the shooting recover from the trauma that's always a part of such an event. And then the third and final part will be an interview with their son who was there at school. So if you like this video, please watch the others. If you like these 3 videos, you can give me a thumbs up on each one of them. Consider subscribing to my channel, where I do talk about everyday mental health, and I appreciate the support. Thank you. I'll see you at the end. Welcome. And I'm 2 things, I guess, when I really think about what we're going to talk about. And I'm excited that we're doing this, and I'm really grateful and very appreciative of the 2 of you for being willing to come on and talk about this. And it had to be one of the more intense experiences of your life.
Yes.
And I really appreciate that. And so to be able to come on here and talk about it shows a lot about how you have dealt with it. And so just to recap it, your son Morrison was in the classroom next to the classroom where the shooting happened, if I remember right. Is that right?
No, Ethan was.
Ethan was your nephew.
Yes.
Grandson. I'm
Grandson,
sorry.
yes.
My nephew, actually.
Yes. He was in the classroom next. Morrison was in gym class at the time.
Okay. And you had another family member in the school too, right?
Yes. We had a granddaughter also in 7th grade and a 6th grade grandson.
And so there were 4
Or in the school at the time.
a son and 3 grandsons, all 7th graders in this school. Correct? Did I say it right?
Caleb was in 6th grade, 1 grandson in 6th grade, the granddaughter and a grandson in 7th grade, and Mo was in 8th grade.
Okay. Thank you. Now we got it.
Okay.
All right. So, man, your alarm bells had to go way off when you started to get this. How did you first find out something was happening?
Morrison called us on his phone, said that there was a shooting at the school and that he was in gym class at the time, and they ran outside of the school and they were running across the field. He had no idea where they were going to go.
So there was not a planned route for that class to go to a particular gathering place or anything?
No. If they had had any fire drills or Alice drills or anything like that, he had not been in the gym when that had happened.
Right.
He'd been in a classroom. This was right after the shooting where the shooter had a rifle and was inside the school shooting at kids outside the school. I think that was in Florida. And that was his concern, was he knew there was an active shooter, but he didn't know where this shooter was.
Okay. So you were referring to an event at another school that he knew about, and his fear was that they were going to be shot while they were running away, even though they're outside the school.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So this was probably about 9:30 or 10. Does that sound about right?
Before 10, 9:30.
Yeah. And he didn't know where they were running to. He had his phone, which I have to say that at this time, the policy of the school was for the kids not to have their phones on them. They were to take them to school, leave them in their locker, and then pick up their phones when they were leaving school for the day. So very few kids had their phones on them. Mo just happened to be breaking the rules that day.
Yeah.
So they were running, and at some point, he called back and said they were in a basement. He wasn't sure where, but they were in a basement. We instantly got on the phone to both of our daughters who had the other kids there at school and told them what was going on. And then we headed over to the middle school. As we were heading over to the middle school, we were being passed by all different law enforcement from just everywhere, the city, the county, the state. And then we encountered a traffic jam when we got close to the middle school. And I don't know
Sure.
what we were thinking that we could do anyway, but that's where we headed.
It's a parent's reaction, isn't it? You got to be there.
Yep. So we headed there, but we got in a traffic jam. And I have to say the school did an excellent job of trying to keep us all informed as to what was going on. And one of the emails and text messages they sent out was that they were taking all the students over to the high school.
Okay.
So we told our daughters that they needed to reroute and go to the high school. It took us a little bit to get there because we were in this traffic jam.
Okay.
We got over to the high school and we saw quite a few buses from the middle school letting students out. We could not get a hold of anyone other than Mo because no one else had their phone on them.
Okay.
It became apparent then that though we had the phone numbers to the parents of Mo's friends, we didn't have any of Mo's friends' phone numbers. And we thought that the other parents probably had the same thing because we had kept in touch with parents that couldn't.
Sure.
So we tried to find out from Mo which of his friends were with him. And he told us, and tried to let those parents know. We also asked Mo to pass his phone around to as many students as he could so that they could call their parents and say they were okay.
Oh, that was really cool of you to even think of that and to, be willing to be the communication hub to help people.
And the problem is that we don't know anybody's phone numbers anymore. Kids don't know their
No.
parents' phone number. They just push the button that says mom or dad.
Or just tell it to call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was some back and forth of let my mom know this and let my dad know this.
Yeah.
And we still weren't sure exactly what basement he was in.
Okay.
And then one of the dads called us and said, "Hey, I actually got to hug Mo."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He said they were over at, there's a golf.
Stony Creek Golf Course
Yeah.
across from the school.
Yeah. And that's where they held those kids that were in the gym.
Okay.
He happened to know that. So he went there and he gave Mo a hug. His son was there too. And I think he took his son home, which was part of the problem because the school obviously didn't want anyone taking the kids. They had to account for all these kids.
Yeah, they had to count them. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the kids in the classrooms did just run out the doors and end up in neighborhoods around there. And so the school had to try to gather everyone up so they could make sure everybody was safe.
Right.
And that's part of the reason they took them over to the high school. So they finally rounded up.
Let me interrupt just 1 second, but you still didn't know about the other three, right?
No, had no idea.
Wow.
We didn't know about the other three, and then we weren't sure where the shooter was, if the shooter was even at that point a student
hmm
or an adult, or what the extent of the shooting was.
Right.
So when we got over to the high school, then the school was putting out that the it was a student, and that there was one 7th grade girl hurt. And I'm not sure if this was really a rumor or if the school put that out. I'm thinking the school put that out. It's hard to remember what was rumor that day and what was told by the school.
Sure.
But we did know it was a 7th grade girl, and we had not heard from Naomi.
Oh, man.
So that was a concern for everybody.
Yeah.
As it turns out, Naomi was one of those individuals who did not have a clue what anybody's phone number was, and she
Right.
did not have her phone with her. We finally found out she was fine, but it took several hours for her to find someone with a phone that had her mom's, or that knew her mom's number. I guess
Okay.
that's what we're saying. It took a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that policy's changed. You won't find anyone in any kid in the Noblesville school system who doesn't have their phone on during school.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah.
And that's a great source of comfort to those kids and their parents.
Very much.
Yeah.
So at this point, all the parents are converging on the high school. We're outside the high school. It was a hot day. They wanted all of us to come in, and I think at that point they only wanted one parent for each student to come in
Okay.
and sign.
Well, they had a long period of time when we were stuck outside.
Right. But the plan was for one parent of each child to go in and sign that you were there to pick up your child. It was a real long line. I would say maybe a third of the parents made it in the door, of which one of our daughters was. And then they had a bomb threat.
Somebody either posted on Facebook or called in a bomb threat.
Oh, no. Right in the middle of all that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it closed down
Oh,
the
geez.
school. Right. And the parents that were inside had to stay inside, and the parents outside had to stay outside.
And so now they had to do a complete search of the whole high school before they could let anybody go anywhere, right?
Right. They
Oh, my
just got finished with that when they had another shooting threat at the high school, and it all closed down again.
Did they ever find out who was responsible for those?
Yes.
Was
They-
it a student?
Yeah, they were students.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So the kids were over there, and this happened, like I said, at 9:30. Now we're early afternoon.
Wow.
There's no food for the kids. So they were kind of scrounging up waters and chips and what they can. And
Yeah.
I think that they had a vendor come in and give them some, didn't they? The Red Cross came, and it's also hot, and all of us parents are standing outside, and the Red Cross in a couple of fire stations,
Mhm.
firemen
Start bringing water over.
started bringing water over.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like people were obviously having to just constantly adjust to the situation that was unfolding. I mean, it wasn't like certain people knew, okay, depending on the time of day, we have to get food to the school gym. We have to get water over to people. And so that was all being made up as you went along, right?
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. It took for them they tried to release the students alphabetically, and it was so noisy in the gym, the two gyms where they were housing all these students. that didn't work real well, and it was a very slow process. The kids couldn't hear them.
Yeah.
Was probably between 3:30 and 4 before all 4 of our kids were back with us.
Oh my gosh.
So from 9:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock when most of the parents got to the school. Once you got inside the school, there were restrooms available to you, but because of the bomb threat and then the other shooting threat, it was probably 2:30 before we were able to get into the school at all.
Oh wow.
So they didn't have restrooms out there either. And
Wow.
and a lot of the parents, you saw where parents decided in place of leaving, they would just wet themselves. We saw that quite a bit.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. It's amazing when you're in life and death situations that nothing else matters. And that's actually really common. Um, and um, it's, yeah, there's just no way to be prepared for that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. During this entire time, there were so many rumors going around, and you didn't know what to believe and what not to believe. You know, the school was, I said they were good at letting us know what was going on, but they were very generic. You know, they
Okay.
were very generic. We heard at one point that Mr. Seaman had been killed. Supposedly that came from a nurse at Riverview Hospital. Probably
And he was a teacher.
he was a teacher, and he was the one that was injured. He was out
Yeah.
in
In the classroom. Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, the kids themselves were hearing rumors and that sort of thing, and then they were those that could call out were calling parents, and that was the source of some rumors also.
Sure. Okay. So it's about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Hmm.
You finally have all your family accounted for and safe. Again, I really appreciate the two of you being willing to do this, and I look forward to having the interview with Morrison and see what his perspective
Yeah, he's looking forward to
was.
that too.
Good, good. All right. Well, we'll end right here then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
Good to see you. So, as always, if you've got value in this, please like the video and consider subscribing. I really appreciate the support, helping people learn what they can about everyday mental health. Thank you. Bye.